Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Christy. I'm a homeschool mom to 3 kids. Today I'm going to be talking about how to choose books for your kids and the importance of reading aloud. So I have a couple book recommendations to start this video off with for you to read. One is How to Raise a Reader by Pamela Paul and Maria Russo. And the second is The Enchanted Hour by Megan Cox Gurdon. Both of these books have a high emphasis on teaching your children to be readers, to be avid readers, and also the importance of reading aloud to your children. Enchanted Hour is one I'm actually in the middle of reading, and I actually had the pleasure of hearing Megan Cox Gurdon speak earlier this summer, and she really inspired me and really moved me, and so I definitely had to pick up her book and start reading it. But she's a very big advocate for reading to your children. She also is a journalist and a very prestigious journalist, so she goes into the research behind reading aloud and what that actually does for our kids' brains. Okay, so I made some notes here. The first thing I'm going to go into is just reading aloud in general. Reading aloud to your kids is so important from the time that they are itty bitty babies all the way up through their life. And the first reason it's so important is the connection. It definitely brings a very close connection to your kids if you consistently are reading aloud to them every single day. It bonds you to your kids. You know, you have that time together. They begin to expect it and anticipate it and look forward to it. One thing that you need to keep in mind when you're reading aloud, especially to little kids, is that it's okay if they're not sitting still. It's okay if they don't seem like they are listening. It's still important to continue reading aloud. So even if they are jumping around or they're playing with something and they don't seem like they are listening to anything that's coming out of your mouth, I urge you to persist. Keep reading to them. Keep taking that time. It doesn't really matter. They're still absorbing more than you think that they are. Reading aloud exposes them to vocabulary that they may not be exposed to otherwise. So there's a couple things that you want to keep in mind when selecting read alouds for your family. The first thing is that you want to make sure that the reading level is slightly higher, and this is because it is exposing them to extensive vocabulary. They're listening to how words are formed and how they sound, and that is very beneficial for them in their language skills. You don't want to, however, go way above their reading level where they can't comprehend the language or it's boring to them because they're not understanding it. The next thing that you want to keep in mind is your children's interests. Try to choose something that would pertain or kind of spark some interest in all of your kids. And I know that this is easier said than done because kids are very different from each other and they may have different interests. So if that's the case and you can't really settle on a subject that everybody likes, you can alternate your interests. So one of your read alouds, if your kid's into dragons, read some sort of fantasy dragon book. If your other kid is into animals, then the next one you pick that pertains to animals, and so on and so forth. Just whatever their interests are, you kind of fluctuate. Try to find something that as a community it will work, but if not, alternate your read aloud choices. Be aware of books that have, different things in it that you don't really want your children kind of absorbing. And what I mean by this is certain language, even if they're not bad words, if the way that a character is talking to another character is modeling bullying behavior or talking down on somebody, you probably don't really want to introduce that into the sponge brains of your children. Keep in mind characters' attitudes towards their parents, towards each other, and that sort of thing. Another helpful tip for reading aloud to your kids is make time. So if you have to actually schedule that time into your day and keep it the same every day, by all means, do that. Picture books are so beneficial for all ages of kids. And you think that your kids, once they start learning to read and once they're reading on their own and they get into some chapter books, that picture books aren't important anymore, and they are. My oldest daughter still loves picture books. They're fun, they're engaging, they're visually appealing, and they're just like kind of an easy, relaxed way to read. So now that we have discussed reading aloud and the importance of that, we're going to go into how to select the best books for your kids. So first, I'm going to break this down into categories from baby to toddler, preschool, kindergarten, elementary, and then teen. So with babies and toddlers, you want to select books that are brightly colored. They have high contrasting lines so that they really capture their eyes' attention. Crinkle books or touch and feel books are so important at this age too, because it activates more of their senses. You also want to select books that have simple text. 1 or 2 words on a page, very simple sentences, so that their attention span is stretched a little bit, but not overwhelmed. And then the last really beneficial type of book for babies and toddlers are word books. Those books with pictures and then what they are labeled below are so helpful for language skills in those early years. Moving on to preschool and kindergarten age, these kids are busy. Some are busier than others. For example, my son is very busy and he's always jumping around, and books don't always hold his attention. So the types of books that you select at this age need to be extra engaging. You can do this by purchasing flap books where they can actually lift flaps on the pages as you read, or any type of hands-on activity that they can do with their hands with the book, wheels to turn, buttons to push, flaps to lift. That will help keep them engaged. Another really good type of book for this age are question and answer books, because this is the age of why. This age is always asking questions, wanting to know how the world around them works, and question and answer books are perfect for them. You should introduce nonfiction books at this age, and so answering some of those nonfiction questions that they have about the world around them, follow their lead. Follow their question. You want to make sure that the nonfiction books that you are choosing are very simple and direct, not paragraphs of information, just very simple. We really love the Gail Gibbons books. They are very great starters for nonfiction. And we also love the Usborne flat books. There's a bunch of different levels of flat books, and we love all of the levels. For this age, alliteration books and rhyming books are so beneficial. When kids are just starting to develop that sense of pre-reading skills, the language skills, these really are very helpful for them. They kind of emphasize certain sounds, they emphasize rhyming words, and they teach them a lot of skills just reading them. So nursery rhymes are really great for this age. Fairy tales are really great for this age, and rhyming books like Dr. Seuss or any type of book that has some kind of cadence. And then also your basic numbers and letter books are important at this age. Okay, moving on to elementary. You've learned to read, they're reading on their own. You want to make sure that you're staying on their level with chapter books. However, definitely allow them to read books that are lower than their reading level. Picture books are oftentimes lower than an elementary school child's reading level, but they're fun. Keep it fun. Keep the pressure off at this age. Let them know that reading is fun and give them that freedom. Support their interests. Definitely kind of observe your child. What are they into? Try to find books that sound interesting that are on that topic. For example, my oldest daughter is 10 and she loves dragons. And so definitely I'm always looking for books that have dragon characters in them, or fantasy type books, because that's what she likes. Another really great type of book are moral books that teach them lessons. Aesop fables are really great at this age. Just teaching them some sort of lesson to learn, kind of perspective and that sort of thing. So definitely look for those types of books as well, whether it be chapter books or picture books. Give them books that are both mirrors and windows. And this is a term that I read in the How to Raise a Reader book. However, I think it was a saying created by somebody else. I'm not sure. But basically it means give them books that they can relate to. They can connect to the character either by how the character looks like, or how their interests, or how they behave. Give them something that's familiar that they can really form that, like, oh, it's me in a story. But also give them books that are windows and give them insight to other people's lives and how they live, and different perspectives and different cultures and diversity and that sort of thing. Books can open an entire world to kids. You know, they don't have the freedom to travel all over the place all the time. So books are the way to kind of expose them to this vast world and how many different people are in it. Make sure your books are readily available. I really suggest book baskets. Those are really great. My daughter has a basket in her room with books that she's currently interested in or reading, and she's more able to grab them that way. I like to have a book basket in the living room. I've heard of people putting them in the bathroom, though I don't have one in my bathroom, but you could totally do that if you want. It just kind of makes it simpler than a giant bookshelf. We do have a giant bookshelf, but just pulling different books off and making a book basket just kind of simplifies their brains and kind of just makes them grab them more. Another thing, and this is a hard one, because this day and age, screens are definitely apparent, but if you want your children to love reading, you really have to limit their screen time, because a child almost always will choose the easy form of entertainment, which is watching something on a screen, over the harder, more challenging form of entertainment by reading a book. It's just kind of in their nature. Now, I'm not speaking for every child, but typically that's how it goes. So if they have a ton of access to screen time, they're not going to by choice put that screen down and go, oh, I'm gonna go read my book. So limiting their screen time gives them nothing else to do but read a book, you know, or be creative in some way. But it just really kind of helps encourage it in a very subtle way. Another thing to do at this age is expose them to different genres. You know, as they get older, they may develop interests or likings to different styles of writing, whether it be nonfiction, fiction, science fiction, mystery, fantasy, whatever it may be, poetry maybe. Just expose them to a lot of different ones, and maybe you'll find that they really like a certain style, and that might help amp up their reading interest. Choose books that are part of a series, because if they like that first book, they're going to want to continue and read more of them. So I really love series because there's always something that comes next. And then also discuss with them what they're reading, you know, not to where they have to write a paper about it or anything. Just have conversation, you know, oh, well, how's this book going? Like, what are they doing in it? Like, how are you liking the story? What do you like about it? What is that character doing? Just form an interest and have them discussing, because that definitely fosters that connection and that love for the story that they're reading. Okay, moving on to teens. Now, teens are challenging because like I said, this is the day and age where screens are very, very apparent, and with teenagers even more so, because a lot of them have phones, a lot of them are into their social life and their friends, and they're not, you know, picking up books as much typically. So again, screen time, try to limit it if you can. Definitely seek out their interests, just like in the elementary year. You just kind of have to get out of them what they're interested in, what they like, try different genres on them. Another thing you could do if your teen is reluctant with reading is maybe try to get them excited by doing a book club. Like, you both read the same book and then you have discussions about it, and you try to see, oh, well, where are you at in the book, or how far are you, or what's happening next, what do you think's going to happen, and that sort of thing. That might encourage them as well. With reading aloud with teens, this is where it gets challenging. A lot of them don't want to be read to anymore. I encourage audiobooks. Play them in the house. Put them on their device or something. Give them access to it so that they can listen to it. And also, if there's a required book that they're reading for school, maybe try reading it aloud to them sometimes. You know, let me help you. Let me take a load off. Let me help you out by reading some of it to you. Okay, so those are all of the tips I have for choosing books for your kids and the importance of reading aloud. I hope you found this helpful. I'm sorry that it was such a long video. It's just a lot of information. So I hope you got something out of it. Maybe a tip kind of, inspired you. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.